House to answer questions. It will be easier for me as a member of parliament to be able to ask questions and to know as to why the contractor has not finished the road 6 years down the line. As a member of Kitutu Church North, I want to tell my members, my constituents, that I will work with them. I will make sure that whatever they want, whatever they need passed, I will make sure that it is passed. Lastly, as I say, the issue to do with the Hustlers Fund, I want to thank the President so much, because with the Hustlers Fund coming along, young people of this country will be able to get funds so that they can run their businesses, so that they can be able to start businesses, and we believe that the young people of this country will benefit through this fund. As I also speak about the reduction of fertilizer, the President reduced fertilizer from 6,500 to 3,500. With the reduction of fertilizer in my area, Kisii, farmers will be able to get more, to produce more in terms of maize and other crops, and these will be able to bring more food to other areas, like the ASAL areas who are complaining of lack of food and the drought. These will be able to feed those people on those areas because of the issues that they're undergoing. I don't want to talk much. I want to thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That must have been, if you are the one who sent home the grandfather of the parliament, then you have set the bar quite high. I now call upon the member for Madioya. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yeah.
Madioya is Madioya here? Oh yes, yes. I think Gembe North, I forgot you for a minute, but I'll get back to you.
Madam Speaker,
Member for Madioya.
Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Oh, there you are, okay.
For giving me this opportunity to address this House for the first time. Indeed, this is my maiden speech. First of all, Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate you for your election as the Deputy Speaker and for the election of Moses Masika Wetangula as the Speaker of this House. Madam Speaker, I want to sincerely give my thanks to the people of Madioya for giving me this opportunity to serve this House. Indeed, it's an honor, given that out of the 50 million Kenyans, I'm part of the 350 that are serving this House. I also want to thank my family, my wives, my children, and my nuclear family, my dad and mom, Mr. and Mrs. Gishuki, for the support that they gave me. Indeed, they cheered me on when it was not fashionable to do so. I also want to thank the President and the Deputy President for the numerous trips they made to Madioya to come and campaign for me through the UDA party so that my dream could be a reality. Mr. President and Deputy, wherever you are, I give you my thanks. I want also to thank the UDA party for the free and fair primaries or nominations, because without them, Madam Speaker, maybe I could not be in this House. Madam Speaker, maybe to go to the topic of the House today is about drought. Madam Speaker, I'm privileged to have worked with Food and Agriculture Organization, which is a UN body that deals with drought and food issues. And Madam Speaker, for us to be able to solve this issue of drought, we have to look at the issue of water. We know we have different types of drought, Madam Speaker. We have meteorological drought. This is a drought that is caused by factors such as tsunamis, hurricanes, typhoons, and others, and landslides. I know this is happening close to home in Kenya, like in Mozambique and in South Africa. But for now, this is not affecting our country. But we also have another type of drought called hydrological drought. And this is a drought that is caused by water, Madam Speaker. If we manage our water well, then we are not going to have issues of drought in this country, Madam Speaker. Now we are talking about drought, Madam Speaker. In 3-6 months or 7-8 months, there will be flooding in this country. There will be floods in this country. Yet all this water goes to waste, Madam Speaker. Some goes to Lake Victoria, others goes to Indian Ocean, Madam Speaker. So if we conserve this water, Madam Speaker, through water harvesting, ponds, dams, and all these other things, then the issue of drought will be a thing of the past. Mr. President, Madam Speaker, the other day when he was flagging off the relief food, Madam Speaker, the President said he hopes that this will be the last time that he will be flagging off the relief food, Madam Speaker. And we know he has a PhD in agriculture, he has a master's in agriculture, and he is so passionate about agriculture, Madam Speaker. And because we have given him a chance, I'm very sure that in this House we will never discuss about drought, Madam Speaker. There is also another type of drought, Madam Speaker, that is called agricultural drought, Madam Speaker. And agricultural drought, Madam Speaker, is the one that causes now the shortage of food, Madam Speaker. We know in this country, Madam Speaker, we have some counties, or we have some parts of the country, Madam Speaker, that they have excess food, Madam Speaker. But others are suffering, Madam Speaker. We have counties that are even wasting food, Madam Speaker. If we can be able to improve on our logistical and supply chain mechanisms, Madam Speaker, then we will be able to move food, Madam Speaker, from the counties or from the areas that have surplus, Madam Speaker, to the areas that don't have food, Madam Speaker, and we are not going to have this issue of food shortages, Madam Speaker. If we're able to do this, I'm very sure we will be able to solve some of these problems, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know maybe my proposals might be extreme, but we need to expand the sources of food or the types of food that we eat in this country, Madam Speaker. Having worked out of this country, Madam Speaker, in Cameroon, Madam Speaker, people there.
Thank you. I will now, I think we had skipped the member for Igembe North, and after the member for Igembe North, we have Umul Khair Harun, the nominated member, and then we are going to the member for Karachuonyo. If you just get ready, make sure your card is ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Let me take the cue to congratulate you for being elected the Deputy Speaker of this House, and also congratulate the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Marende. Let me take also not Honorable Wetangula Masika. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate the President and his Deputy from being unequivocally elected as the President and Deputy President of this country. Allow me also to congratulate the great people of Igembe for giving me an opportunity to serve them as the Member of Parliament for the 13th House. This is a great honor, and indeed, I want to assure them that I will not squander this opportunity, and I will serve them with a lot of commitment, diligently, and also with a lot of honor. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to give a little background of Igembe North. Igembe North, as the name suggests, is one of the constituencies that is far end of Mount Kenya. It is the most northerly constituency in Meru. And in this regard, Igembe North borders Isiolo County, and all the 5 wards of Igembe North at one end touches Isiolo County. This means, therefore, the marginal belt of Igembe North is quite wide. And in relation to the motion that we have, we are aware that the mapping has been done, and some of the counties in this country have been mapped as red alert counties in Kenya. I would urge the government to make sure that, because we have the poverty index, we have the drought index for the sub-counties, let Igembe North be considered as one of the sub-counties that should be on red alert program. Because Igembes, their main economic ministry is Mira. Mira is not productive, and you are aware, 2 weeks ago, one of the sections of Wigembe ate the headlines, whereby people had eaten a carcass. About 100 people had eaten meat from a dead camel, and almost 100 people were hospitalized because of diarrhea and other related problems. Therefore, I'm calling for the government to intervene urgently so that those people can be given enough food for them to feed their young ones, and also to make sure that our children remain in school. I'm alive to the fact that the distribution of food is already taking place, and I would beg that the government make sure that this food is taken to schools instead of giving individual people, because at school, all the kids, all the school-going children will be able to access feeding, and we shall have less problem at home. Finally, the issue of infrastructure. I want to assure the people of Wigembe people that I'm alive to all the stoned projects concerning electricity, concerning roads, concerning bows, so that they can be done, and I will fast track them once the appointment has been done in various ministries, so that we can make sure that those projects are brought to success. Thank you. I can see my time is over. I want to end there.
Thank you. Nominated member for Umulkhir Harun.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. And today I'm going to contribute on the matter on the floor, which is a drought. I am a young lady nominated by the ODM, but I am from Garissa County, specifically from Ijara sub-county, and also from Huluko, which is bordering Somalia to the south. So up until today, we constantly keep hearing about issues on drought, but we have not found a solution up to date. Is it because we do not have the funds, or is it because we are yet to come up with strategies and proper solutions? Kenya is a natural resource-based economy, meaning we completely are at the mercy of the rains to direct how we feed ourselves. So in that case then, what can we do? Because top of my head is, can we have an aggressive campaign to green our country? To that effect, counties like myself are not, we are not farmers, but we are nomads. But we still are one of the biggest consumers when it comes to food. So my challenge today would be, first we come up with solutions, because we have countries like Israel who have completely found a solution to feed their people. If I think mangoes from Ijara sub-county, for example, because we use the irrigation and Tana River to irrigate, mangoes from our farms do very well. We also supply a lot of lemon and watermelons. I would suggest we have inter-county trade initiatives, and also ask counties to completely find ways to provide food for their people. We also, the leather market, for example, currently is at $407 billion. Our animals are dying. Is it important then we have tanneries and meat commissions county-based, so that when an animal dies, we're able to slaughter it immediately, and that particular herder is able to get money instantly. Those are one of the solutions I'm thinking, because drought will always be here. We just have to find a way to create solutions. As a lawmaker, I understand we have the National Climate Change Fund yet to be operationalized. The ministries involved need to tell us where we are at. When we talk of this fund, we must also not forget the National Climate Change Council, which is chaired by the President. Why has it not met yet? How then, as a country, can we leverage on what we have, the existing finances, the National Climate Change Funds, county climate change funds, to attract more finances? So with this, I think as a nomad, we really need to come up with solutions quickly, so that next year when we sit on this house again, we do not talk about drought, but maybe talk about how the watermelons from Garissa are making its way to central Kenya, and the milk from central Kenya is making its way to counties that do not have. Let's think of solution-based, because we already know the problem, we've described the problem, we need the solutions. We need funds to implement the programs, and now that we know the PS positions are being issued, can we have nomads in place so that they can also find ways to divert funds to support their people? Thank you so much.
Member for Kiminini.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations for being elected as a Deputy Speaker of this House. Madam Speaker, we are living in a country that does not really worry about the disaster cycle. The focus in this country remains just on the response and the recovery. But what we've always done as a country, we've ignored the portion of preparedness and mitigation. I am saying this because having an opportunity to work with the United Nations for close to 22 years in 19 countries, when you meet the officials of other countries, they're always very responsive and they're ready to save lives. We've had an opportunity even to come up with a paper while working in the presidency, which we shared with Foreign Affairs, being the custodian of interacting with the United Nations. And by then, up to last year, the United Nations was ready for us to establish a humanitarian city where we could keep stockpiles from medicine to food, and also come up with the capacity to even establish the Kenya Disaster Management Authority. But Madam Speaker, we know very well that in a disaster cycle, in a period of every 3 to 5 years, we know there will be hunger, either natural disaster or man-made disasters. But in this country, our focus has remained on just response. And by the time we want to respond, there is very, very little food to respond. There's very little humanitarian items, an example to respond. And you remember, Madam Speaker, in 2018 when we had the Solai emergency, it took the government, to borrow around to mobilize about R1 billion shillings. But with what we've put in place, or the proposal we've done outside this house, we've had an idea on how we as experts from this country could try to bring together, and try to mitigate and be even more prepared to sort of reduce what we are seeing. I know in the speech of His Excellency the President, he talked about food production. But again, producing that food, if we don't have mechanism on how to stock it, will not be very good. And I know that most of the multilateral organizations, including the United Nations, they really favor Kenya in terms of logistic, or rather geographical positioning. Because from Kenya, they would like to keep their stockpiles here. They've got most of the UN agencies here. They are ready to invest here. But it's always been sort of driven from a political perspective, where people sitting in separate, different offices, they are not in a position to really understand that we have to really support the Kenyans. So what I'm saying, Madam Speaker, we need to take this issue urgently. we need to move as a country from just focusing on response and recovery and being prepared, and also ensuring that there's mitigation. Because once we are prepared, even if these effects are there, they'll be minimal. And most important is to ensure that we've got sufficient stockpiles, we've got human resources, capacity, and not just a policy paper. I am fully aware that the Honorable Member of Kikuyu, Honorable Ichung'wah, has brought a bill in this House on disaster management. But I know the bill is to be resubmitted. We'll need to look at that bill so that it's not just the policy in terms of paper, but we try to build an infrastructure whereby, using other multilateral agencies, we can build capacity, ensure that the Kenya Disaster Management Authority works together with the United Nations, keep sufficient stocks, have good humanitarian stocks, and also have food. So, Madam Speaker, I want to leave it at that by concluding that as a country, we must move from just mere response and focus more on preparedness and mitigation. Because as we know, in every period of 2 to 5 years, there will always be these disasters. And from history, there will also man-made disasters which will occur after like every 7 to 10 years. A good example was the Solai Dam. So we need to prepare as a country, and not just policy, but put sufficient infrastructure in place to ensure that we save lives of Kenyans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Kisauni.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa kupenyeza sauti yangu katika janga hili la ukame. Lakini kabla ya hayo, nichukue nafasi hii kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa kuniwezesha kuwa katika bunge la 13. Kama si uwezo wake singekuwa hapa. Namshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu na na imani nitafanya mema kwa wakati huu wa kipindi hiki cha miaka 5. Pili, nichukue fursa hii kukupongeza kwa kuchaguliwa kama spika wa bunge hili la 13, na tuna imani utafanya haki pamoja na spika Wetangula, mtafanya haki katika bunge hili ili wote wapate fursa ya kuzungumza. Nichukue nafasi hii pia kushukuru familia yangu kwa kunipa moyo wakati wa kampeni na kunipa nguvu na kunisongeza, kunipa moyo nisirudi nyuma mpaka nikaweza kupata ushindi. Na washukuru sana. Na pia nichukue fursa hii kuwashukuru waungwana wa Kisauni kwa kunichagua kuwa mjumbe wao, kwa kuniamini ili niweze kuwakilisha katika bunge hili la 13, na nina imani kwamba wako katika mikono salama, na nitakaa na wao, tutasaidiana kwa hali na mali kuhakikisha kwamba sehemu yetu ya Kisauni inasonga mbele. Baada ya kunipumzisha kwa bunge la 12, nashukuru bunge la 13 wakaniamini na wakaona kwamba wamekosa huduma zangu niweze kurudi, na washukuru. Nimshukuru Mheshimiwa Rais kwa kurudisha huduma za utendakazi wa bandari kwa wapwani. Tunawaomba wawekezaji warudi, watumie fursa hiyo ili vijana wetu wapate ajira, na pia bandari irudishe ile mfumo wa zamani wa white card ili watoto wetu waendelee kupata ajira, kwa sababu watoto wetu wamekaa mabarazani, na tuna imani kwamba ikiwa watarudisha hiyo white card itawasaidia zaidi, ili watoto wengi wataajiriwa, kwa sababu na watakuwa na moyo, na hata wao watakuwa na ufahamu kwamba baada ya muda fulani watarudi, watafanya, na wengine watabadilishana kwa miezi 3. Suala la uskwata ni tatizo kubwa pwani, hasa Kisauni. Nina imani serikali hii ya awamu ya 5 watashughulikia suala hilo, kwa sababu moja katika ahadi walizozitoa ni kwamba wataumaliza uskwata, na tunasubiri kuona hilo jambo likitekelezesha. Upande wa Kisauni, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna eviction order hivi sasa nyingi zimetoka. Hatuingilii mahakama, lakini tunaomba wawe na utaratibu wa fikra kwamba unapotoa eviction order ya nyumba zaidi ya 1000 unaleta matatizo makubwa, wanaoteseka na akina mama na watoto wakati wanabomolewa, na hali wale ambao wanaodai kwamba zile ardhi zile ni zao waliwaacha, walikuwa wapi wakati watu wanajenga msingi, wanaanza kujenga paka wanaweka paa, paka wanaweka stima, wanakuja wakati mtu amelala ndio wanakuja kusema ni kwao. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba mahakama iwe naangalia sana swala hilo. Katika upande wa ukame ningeomba kwamba liwe kama janga la kitaifa, kwa sababu ukame kuna watu wanapata dhiki kubwa, wanaenda hatua ndefu kutafuta maji, mifugo inakufa barabarani wakati haina lishe. Kwa hivyo ni vyema taifa liwe na mipango, wasingoje paka chakula kiwe wakati kuna ukame wa jua kali ndio wanazungumza. Kuwe na mpango, kila county kuwe na standby ya kila jambo, kama ni water boozers, chakula katika magala. Wakati kuna jambo kama hili, kila county inaingia katika watu wake kuhakikisha wanatatua tatizo hili. Wasingoje mpaka janga liwe kubwa tuwe tunakuja kuflag malori hapa Nairobi, na kufika huko pia ni masiku kadhaa. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba mipango hii iwe itashughulikiwa kwa ukamilifu, na hata Kisahuni ni sehemu moja kame pia kwa sasa. Ningeomba pia katika yale majina ama miji ambayo imewekwa, wasitenge Kisahuni. Jua limewaka sana kule paka kwenye mifuko pia imewaka. Ikiwa chakula kitapeanwa na Kisahuni pia wao wataweza kupata chakula. Kwa haya mengi nasema asante sana. Ikiwa itawezekana ni donate muda wangu uliobaki kwa mheshimiwa Mishi hapa. Asante sana.
Member for Mbeere South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. My name is Engineer Nebat Muriuki. I'm born again Christian from Mbeere South. Madam Speaker, let me join my colleagues in thanking you and congratulating you and the Speaker for your election to lead this 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, this is my first time in this House. Madam Speaker, for me to be here, I would say it was a struggle for the people of Mbeere South. If I may tell this House where I'm coming from, Madam Speaker, in Mbeere South, I was the founder member of UDA and promoted UDA very aggressively, Madam Speaker. But the electoral process of this country, Madam Speaker, put me off, but the Mbeere people were determined to have me in this House because they have confidence in me that I can deliver. Madam Speaker, I want to thank my people from Mbeere South because they want to fight the tides and waves of the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza to bring me into this House as an independent person. Madam Speaker, the message which the people of Mbeere South sent through this election was that Mbeere South is committed to work with the President because they overwhelmingly voted for Ruto and they voted for me. Actually, in Embu County, it is all Kenya Kwanza except for Mbeere South, where I'm an independent member in this House. The message they gave me as I came to this House is that I must work with the government so that I can deliver in the promises which I made. I want to thank them very much for standing with me, for ensuring that I come into this House. I want to thank them for the confidence which they have shown and the trust they have in me. And Madam Speaker, I trust that this 13th Parliament is going to be different from other houses in that, Madam Speaker, we should enact rules which are going to facilitate provision of services to our people. Madam Speaker, I've been listening to the debate. Many people are talking of problems, and there's one speaker who have presented something very, very nice, that ever since 1965 to date, we are talking of the same problems. problem of drought. Madam Speaker, in Bere South, which is a semi-arid constituency and one of the largest constituency in Embu County, and also the most underdeveloped in Embu County, Madam Speaker, we have been having the same cycles of drought and hunger. Madam Speaker, even as I speak now, the relief food which was supplied, Madam Speaker, it has not reached to every corner of Bere South. This morning I got a call that some schools have not gotten any food. Others, Madam Speaker, are even having problems with water. Yesterday, I had to supply water to a school because there was no water. Madam Speaker, I want to mention something which I've noticed in this country. We build capacity and we don't make use of that capacity. Bere South is having 5 dams which are not being used to supply water to Bere South. They are not being used for irrigation. And Madam Speaker, as I speak now, we are having hunger in that sub-county, while the capacity is there to do irrigation and even to provide people with clean water. Madam Speaker, this is not only in Bere South. Let us look at other areas where capacity has been built by this country and is not being used. The SGR, how many?
Member for Magarini.
The mic.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, nichukue nafasi hii kwanza kukupongeza kwa kuchaguliwa kuwa Spika wa Bunge la 13. Pia vile nichukue nafasi hii kwa haraka niwarudishie shukrani watu wa Magarini kwa vile iliwapendeza wakaweza kunichagua kwa mara ya 4 nikapate kuwawakilisha na nikapate kuwafanyia maendeleo.
The legends and familiar chants will grace KBC once again. Don't miss the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, where 28 exclusive matches will air on KBC Channel 1 and 64 matches will be live on KBC radio station.